I was working on a project, a different project, just looking at how the world economy is doing. And some of the data sources are, if it's from China, it's written in Chinese, and if it's from Japan, it's also kind of written in Chinese. So none of the interns knew how to read Chinese, and although those technical vocabularies I did not know very much, I was familiar with the general concept, and it was like those kind of things were so easy for me just because I studied Chinese.
So thanks to the CAPS program, I've gotten to work a number of internships. My most recent one was at the State Department in the summer. I was working in the Office of Regional and Security Policy for East Asia. I was surprised to learn how many of the policymakers there didn't have experience with China. As Foreign Service officers, they rotated through post, and maybe they had been working in Baghdad or working in Africa, and now they're here trying to work with China. And it ended up being that my co-intern and I, a fellow who was a Harvard student, and I, we were the two interns in the office, we had the most experience with China out of everybody in the Office of Regional and Security Policy at the State Department. So they were often asking us about different things. What do you think about this? Can you explain this? We were doing research in Mandarin because we were the only two people in the office that spoke Mandarin. And it was really, really enlightening to see just how this is a thing that policymakers are now looking to younger people to give kind of advice and background on China issues. And I felt this was kind of the culmination of my CAPS experience. It was like, wow, I'm actually in the State Department. I'm giving advice on China stuff.
I'm ready.
You guys really make me jealous. I wish I could have that kind of internships as well. So, as I know, all of you are either just back from the Beijing semester or right in the middle of the DC semester. I would like you to each talk about your off-campus experience, either in Beijing or in DC. How does it feel like? I know it's wonderful.
My Beijing semester was my favorite semester for now. I was working for the American Embassy, so I'd go into work at the embassy 3 or 4 days a week, and then on the weekends we'd take off and travel around the country. We'd go to Xi'an. I flew down to Hong Kong. We went to Guilin, and it was really great. I had never done this kind of solo travel experience through the country. We would just go out and have no plan, just meet people, talk to them, stay where we could, rent motorbikes when we could. And it was really great to go out in the country and meet people and see what their perspectives on things were. My favorite thing was always to ask them, "What's your opinion of America? What do you think about? What do you think about contemporary issues?" See what local Chinese people think.
Usually what local Chinese people would say.
A lot of them wanted to comment on American pop culture. And that was always really entertaining to talk about. But I was surprised at the level that they paid attention to international issues as well. They knew more about American politics than they certainly knew more about American politics than American citizens knew about Chinese politics.
Yeah, like Austin. Austin and I were roommates in Beijing, and we both super enjoyed our Beijing semester. But Beijing semester was more than just learning Beijing. It was learning China in general, and it's really surprising because Beijing is such a advanced city in terms of its technology and all the skyscrapers. But if you go farther away from Beijing and go to a inner city that's not as well known as Beijing or Shanghai, you could see that China is clearly still a developing country, and those kind of experiences led me to see that American perspective on China should not be a singular and homogeneous one, but rather should be a heterogeneous one. And besides the Beijing semester, I really enjoyed my experience in DC, and that is one reason why I hope to go back to DC after graduation and work in a policy setting.
Mm-hmm. So I know while you were in Beijing, it's not just all about Beijing. You also went to a couple of the field trips, right? Where did you go for last semester?
So the first trip we took was there were four of us. My brother Dallas, Jin, Bill, and I, and the 4 of us plus our teachers went to Xi'an.
Great
which
city.
I had never been to Xi'an before. It was really interesting to see. We climbed Huashan, and that was quite an experience. We went to see the terracotta soldiers. Food was good.
Food is always good.
Food was always good. Yeah.
And we also did trips to like famous places within Beijing. So all the palaces, Tiantan, and at the end of the semester, around the end of the semester, we went to the Great Wall, where I showed you the picture. And we did personal trips as well. So he went to Guilin and Hong Kong. I also went to Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and Inner Mongolia, which was really different from Beijing. Rode horses and went to the desert. It was super cool. Yeah, I think that really wraps.
Have you got a chance to hang out frequently with the local Chinese students in Peking University?
So Bill ended up dating a local Chinese student, and they're still together. But it was really great to meet. She was an inn, and we got to meet a lot of other local Chinese students, and they would show us like where to go, where to eat, good restaurants.
It's always food.
Yeah, and
Food is always great.
we also met a couple of students through our class with Chanash. We had a very multicultural class with students from China, from Russia, from Japan, from Mexico, and we were analyzing foreign policy from the Chinese perspective. And that was really great to have this kind of cross-cultural dialogue within Beijing, where the Americans only constituted a fifth of the class. So.
And what are the top three favorite things you like about Beijing, other than food?
Well, being around Peking University, I really liked how international it was. So the class was great, but even outside of class, I joined like a mountaineering association. It was like a lot of different Chinese students and Australian students, and that was really great to kind of be in a foreign country with other foreigners and all sharing information. Beyond that, the history is really great. I really like to go see all the different historical sites. Professor Carlson flew to Beijing and visited one of the parks with us, the old summer palace that was burned down by the French. He had a lot to say about the history of that. It was really interesting. Probably the third favorite thing about Beijing was the opportunity to practice my language skills.
Yeah, I also wanted to add to that opportunity to practice Chinese, because whenever you take a cab, taxi driver would start talking to you, and he would say, "Oh, are you a foreigner?" And I would have to explain myself in a very not not so high level of Chinese, but they would have accents that are very different from the Chinese language and structure that I've always encountered. And those experiences really helped me get into the China that's beyond the instructor level Chinese that I've always used to.
Yeah, you should get a language certificate for being able to talk to the Chinese cab.
The trouble is when they start speaking Beijing class. I really don't understand.
So the DC students, do you want to chime in?
It hasn't been too long since we've been in DC yet, but I can speak for all of us when I say that I love it so far. I feel like we try to make time every weekend to explore the city. We've been going to a lot of museums. Besides that, I love it because we only have class on one day of the week, and even though that's really intense.
She only has class.
Oh, sorry. But I have my internship from Monday to Wednesday, and I just feel like when being in Cornell, we're so preoccupied being in this community with so many Cornell students around us, but when I'm in DC, I feel very detached, and I don't feel like a student anymore because I spend most of my time in my internship working with adults. So I think that's very valuable.
Well, I have Chinese class every day except for the one day we just spend in class. But I would definitely say it's definitely, I think, a challenge to be both an intern and a student because, you know, you might be a part-time intern, but you're also a full-time student. And I think it's a challenge that definitely shouldn't be underestimated, but it definitely is a great deal of fun. I've never lived in a city before. The police sirens are all the time. I love watching motorcades. That's probably my favorite thing. I got to see the Pope, which was really, really exciting. There's a lot of energy in that crowd. But yeah, and so I'm definitely getting a lot out of the DC experience. You know, working in the environment that's so, like, it's our nation's capital, and working in that environment is so great, especially in a think tank with all of these experts from around the world. It's really a valuable experience.
One of my favorite things about DC is just the cavalcade of personalities that roll on through, you know, every now and again. As Amanda said, we went to see the papal visit not yesterday, today's Saturday, Thursday, a lot of fun, big crowd. A couple of us went and saw Donald Trump when he came to DC a couple of weeks ago, so that was a good time. But there's always something happening. There's always something happening, always, you know, people coming around, being themselves, and it's a nice change of pace from someone who's used to going to school in the lovely little bubble that is Ithaca. So it's great to see kind of the difference between small town life and big city life.
Yeah, and it is a wonderful season to be in DC now, right?
Oh yeah.
So would you like to talk a bit about the courses offered in DC? How do you like them?
They're absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely. The core course at DC is basically a policy seminar taught by David Silby, who is a character. Makes every class very interesting. Is never short on jokes. And as CAP students, we also take our respective levels of Chinese language classes. Our Chinese teacher this year is Li Lu, who's a teacher at Johns Hopkins School of is it Advanced International Studies, of the A4? Yeah, so the dance school, who is wonderful. She goes out of her way to, I think, personalize the Chinese language education for us in DC. I might be saying that because I'm biased, because it's just Matt McGee and I in our class. So we have plenty of time to focus on our own individual quirks. And then, of course, we have a seminar taught by the one and only Professor Cynthia Watson on the American side of Sino-US relations, in which not only does she lecture, but she also brings in a really wonderful series of guest speakers who have experiences with China that are more than hands-on. And it's just always, every week, it's something new, something cool, and something interesting.
I agree. And also I just want to add about Dr. Watson's course. It's really great because I don't think I've ever been in a seminar course before, but we literally just sit there and talk about China. Like, what more do you want in a class than that? Yeah, and I think that's like a great part of that course. You know, it can change every day. We have topics, you know, but we just sit there and talk, and I think it's like the best thing ever. And also our Chinese language course. There's 4 of us, I think, in our course, and so that's pretty fun. The other day there was a cockroach, and we all collectively freaked out trying to figure out the word for cockroach in Chinese. But you know, it's very dynamic and it changes, and it's a great time.
Yeah, so the core course, I love it. So we're all writing a big research paper that's supposed to be around 30 to 40 pages by the end, and we're all working on that. That's all a challenge for us, but I'm pretty sure we're all going to be very proud of it by the end. And then Professor Watson's class, I feel like half the time we sit there in awe at how she knows the date of every single event that happened, and that's just amazing. We get so much insight and knowledge from her. And then the Chinese course, I have a one-on-one session with Li Laoshi, which is amazing, very personal. She also lives in the building with us, so she's available to speak Chinese with me whenever I want, and I think that's great.
I should also add about our core course. In our core course, there's also 4 tutors that take on the role of being each our tutor, but also existential crisis interventioner. So that's kind of sad because we've only been there a month so far. But they're really great in helping us get through the whole research paper process,
great to know that you are all leading a very meaningful and very busy life. Right. As I said, all CAP students are just extremely hardworking. Last night, when I was browsing through your slides, I see that almost all of you, actually all of you, are having another major or minor. Austin is doing CAPS in mathematics. Jinghan Kim is doing CAPS, econ, and psychology. And Ko is doing CAPS government, and Amanda is doing CAPS with a minor in communications, and Anna is also a CAPS government double major. So my question is that I know it's gonna be challenging because the requirements of CAPS itself is a lot to many of the students. So how do you actually balance the CAPS requirements, including language and the off-campus components, with your other major or minor?
I have not done a super job of balancing. So I've been left with my last year here. I have to take 5 math classes in 1 year, which I'm currently attempting, and it's going okay. But again, math for me has always just been, I do it because I'm interested in it. It's been, I met a good deal of friends in the major, and it was really fun to work through problems with them. And yeah, it's when I decided to do CAPS in math, I knew that it was going to be difficult given the year abroad, but it's been a really rewarding experience.
3 major students.
For me, my academic goal for my 4 years at Cornell was to explore as many academic disciplines as possible, and I decided to study social sciences like economics and psychology because they draw insights from mathematics, natural sciences, and humanities to complete our understanding of the world. Then I was introduced to CAPS, and very soon realized that this program is the true embodiment of the interdisciplinary study that I wanted to pursue. And of course, there are a lot of requirements, so it was really hard for me to decide whether I wanted to become a triple major. But I tried hard, and I'm almost done by now. So I'm hoping that I could graduate in time.
Good job.
Something that Jin touched on was just how really extraordinarily interdisciplinary the CAPS program is. It draws from political science, from history, from economics, from the arts, to kind of create what I think has been brought up as a very well-rounded understanding of China. So I think integrating, especially from the social sciences like I've been doing, into CAPS is not easy, but a lot more straightforward than it would be with other majors.
So I actually just picked up the communications minor last spring, I think, because after working at the Korean Museum of Glass in the comms department, I realized how interesting the intersection between having a major in CAPS and a minor in comms would be. I don't know any young person that can say they don't like social media, but studying social media academically is like the coolest thing ever. And so I've really gotten into that. As far as balancing the two, I think it's pretty easy, at least for myself. I usually take a good half and half of CAPS and comms courses. It is a little bit more difficult because it's in a different college. It's in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. That's why they won't let me major in it. But I think they're very excited as well themselves to have like a CAPS. They didn't even know what CAPS was when I walked into the office, but now they do. And like I think I love what my peers have said about interdisciplinary studies, and I think it's really great because you get such a different perspective on loads of different issues and topics. And so that's what really makes, I think, CAPS a special place.
Yeah, so despite what I said earlier, I would also like the government. I like that, even though I love CAPS, the government major provides a lot of insight into American politics, which I also love learning and wanted to too, I feel like CAPS, as they have said, is very interdisciplinary, so they process a lot with the government, so they count as government, and so that really helps take the load off of the government budget.
So with a CAPS major at hand and probably coupled with one or two others, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, 5 years from now?
I'm really excited to graduate. I've got a lot of, not because I don't want to be at Cornell, but because CAPS has really positioned me to do really great things post-graduation. I'm currently looking, as I mentioned earlier, I'm looking at the Peace Corps in Princeton and Asia. These two programs would be really great for me to just get some hands-on experience. And the decision to pursue these was actually a derivative of one of my mentors in my internship had really great advice in one of my internships. He said, while you're young, the desk job will be there. You can always go to it. But while you're young, go out, get your hands dirty, do something, meet people, travel. And I really want to embody that. And the Peace Corps and this Princeton in Asia program, which places me for a year in an Asian country working, would really, I think, would give me a lot of perspective before I decide if I want to pursue graduate school or not. Ideally, I would, in 5 years, I'd complete these programs, apply to a PhD program, and become a serious China scholar.
I think the question of where I see myself in 5 years is as hard as answering where I see China in 5 years.
Great answer.
I really don't know. The only thing I know is that I really enjoyed my experience in DC, and I met really great people there who I still keep in touch and who are really willing to help me out in figuring out what I could do with my background and combine my interest in pursuing a career. So I don't know if I want to go to grad school, if I want to work in a specific field, but I feel like having this China background, I'll be always ready to take chances when especially because anything that's related to China, there's going to be a lot of chances and opportunities.
Great question, Haiyan. I, like Jin, am not 100% certain about where I see myself in 5 years. So I'm only a junior, so I have this year left undergrad, then my senior year. And then after that, could be anything. I haven't been to Beijing yet, but when it came to Cornell in Cambodia and kind of traveling around for only about 2.5 weeks, being in Southeast Asia and Cambodia in particular for only that long just didn't seem like it was enough. So I really hope after graduation to spend some more time in Southeast Asia to kind of see what the contrast is between living in Southeast Asia, living in East Asia, and living in the States, and then hopefully I can kind of triangulate and pick a place to end up for too long.
I would also say I have no idea, but and that I think less than 5 years ago, I thought I was going to be a doctor, and that doesn't look like it's going to work out. But I do know that I want to work in China. I want to live in China. Possibly right after graduation, take a year to complete so I can feel proficient enough in Chinese. I want to do a range of things from maybe going into a more contra perspective. There's a job, at least right now, there's a job for a reporter in Beijing for BuzzFeed. That sounds right up my alley. So right now I think I'll probably try to get my proficiency in Chinese, maybe look for grad school, maybe work, maybe travel around. I like to move a lot, so yeah.
Well, as someone who turned 20 not too long ago, I feel like my mind changes almost every day, and it's very hard to answer how I see myself in 5 years, and it's a very hopeful answer. But right now, if I really like my series of internships in the media, I want to pursue a career in that after graduation. But I feel like the benefit of being a CAPS major is that it gives us a set of very versatile set of skills that we can really apply anywhere. And being able to speak Chinese and being able to understand the Chinese perspective really makes us marketable.
Great. Great, thank you all. So we're running out of time, but here I have the last question. After that, I'll open the floor to the audience to see if there are any questions from our audience today. So the question is that we all know that CAPS is providing everybody a wide variety of opportunities that you can hardly get from anywhere else. But is there one thing that you wish that the CAPS program has provided, but we didn't?
Okay, I can start, I think. So this past summer, I went on it was kind of like a 2-week tour of China, and then we ended with a student summit at Fudan University with Fudan University students. And that was like a really great experience because we got to talk about so many issues that seem like on an international policy making scale, they seem like really touchy, kind of like we talked about, climate change, the environment, and like military. They seem kind of touchy when you talk to adults, but when you talk to college students, they're so open, and like Fudan University students, they did not hold back. So going to that summit like really opened my eyes on different perspectives. We also got to meet Yao Ming, so I was like, that's whatever. So maybe like having a summit, maybe even at Cornell with Chinese university students coming here, we get to open up our doors for them like they did that.
So I finished my 4,000 until the 4,000 level of high advanced Chinese here in Cornell last year. So that's pretty much how high the Chinese level goes. So in DC, I'm taking independent study of Chinese, and I only meet once a week. And I feel like you guys overestimate my Chinese language skills. Thinking that I only need 1 day and just an hour of language practice, but I feel like to maintain my Mandarin, I need to practice it every day. And I just feel like I have more opportunities to practice my Mandarin in DC, but I know I will be getting plenty of opportunities in Beijing next semester. So.
Yeah, just for your question, we're actually working on that. We're just working on maybe providing more choices of high-level Chinese language classes to you, and we're working together with our dear Chinese instructors in Asian studies.
I guess just 2 small suggestions. Some other universities offer diplomatic Chinese, and this is kind of just in line with that. But more options for. I'm not in language classes here. I finished the 4,000 level last year. So, but if we had a class that was more geared toward you kind of specializing it, we become older, that'd be great. The other one would be. I know this idea was floated around, but in past years, but an undergraduate student publication. So an opportunity or somewhere that we can submit papers or write for, that would be really great, especially for those of us who are considering PhD programs. Having a venue to have writing published would be really useful.
Would you be willing to take the lead?
Yes, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
For me, I think this relates less to the CAPS specific, CAPS major specific, but more about the general Cornell student population. I feel like we could provide China exposure to the general student body. Coming back from Beijing and talking to my friends, catching up what I've been doing so far, they sounded all very interested in what I did in China and and they really wanted to learn more about China. But when I asked them, oh, so why aren't you doing CAPS like me? They said the barrier to entry is quite too high. Having a requirement of 1 year abroad, and they're all studying something else, so the scheduling is difficult. Balancing the 2 majors are difficult, and I really want to. And because Cornell has such a great resources, I feel like we could do something where we could share this resource with the general student body and expose them to what China is. Because I have a friend who worked in a finance sector this summer, and she told me even though the news was all about what's going to happen to Greece, like their analysts all looked into China because the company thought that China